The darkest anime episode that got banned worldwide. 685 children rushed to hospitals. Seizures, blindness, convulsions spread across an entire nation. One anime episode caused the biggest medical emergency in history, and it nearly destroyed the entire industry forever. December 16th, 1997. A normal Tuesday evening in Japan. Millions of children sat watching their favorite show. Pokémon Episode 38 aired at 6:30 p.m. 4 seconds of animation changed everything. By 7 p.m., ambulances flooded every major city. Children collapsed, screaming, unable to see or move. Parents called emergency services in absolute panic. Hospitals were overwhelmed with hundreds of victims simultaneously. This was not an isolated incident in one city. This happened across the entire country at once. The Japanese press called it Pokémon shock, and the world would never forget what happened. After spending over 100 hours researching this incident, I discovered the full story nobody tells you. This is not just about one banned episode, it is about how animation almost ended that night. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what happened in those 4 seconds, why it caused such catastrophic damage to children, and the dark secrets the industry hid afterward. Let's start with what actually aired that night. The episode was called Electric Soldier Porygon. Ash and friends enter a computer system to fight Team Rocket. Inside cyberspace, everything looks digital and surreal. Pikachu uses Thunderbolt to destroy incoming vaccine missiles. The explosion fills the entire screen with flashing lights. Red and blue lights alternated at an incredible speed. 4 seconds of rapid flashing in specific colors. That's all it took to hospitalize nearly 700 children. Here's what makes this truly horrifying. The episode was not violent or graphic at all. No blood, no disturbing imagery, nothing inappropriate. Just 4 seconds of flashing red and blue light. But that specific combination triggered something devastating. Photosensitive. Epileptic seizures swept across an entire generation. Children who had never had seizures in their lives suddenly collapsed, unable to control their bodies. Some lost consciousness completely in front of their families. Others experienced temporary blindness that lasted hours. Many could not stop convulsing even after the episode ended. The Fire Defense Agency reported exact numbers immediately. 685 children were transported by ambulance, 310 were boys, and 375 were girls. Over 150 were admitted to hospitals overnight. 2 children were hospitalized for more than 2 weeks, and these were just the reported emergency cases. 12,000 additional children reported feeling sick. Headaches, nausea, and dizziness spread widely. Some researchers called it mass hysteria. Children who heard about the incident sometimes experienced symptoms themselves, but the initial 700 cases were completely real. Their seizures were medically documented and verified. Now here is where the story gets darker. The animation studio knew about photosensitive epilepsy risks. They had been warned about using flashing lights before, but nobody understood how dangerous specific colors could be. A rapid switch from red light to blue light at a high frequency was uniquely devastating to human brains. About 1 in 4,000 people are normally susceptible. But this episode affected far more than that. The frequency was calibrated exactly to trigger seizures. It was 10 flashes per second at that specific color combination. Scientists later confirmed this created maximum neurological disruption. The animators accidentally created the perfect seizure weapon. It was broadcast to 27 million households simultaneously. Think about the timing of what happened next. News spread across Japan within hours of the incident. Television networks went into complete panic mode. TV Tokyo issued a public apology the next morning. They suspended Pokémon indefinitely with no return date. Nintendo's stock price dropped 400 yen immediately, losing almost 5% of its value in a single day. Police ordered an investigation into the production team. The Ministry of Health held emergency meetings with experts. Every hospital collected data on the affected children. The entire Japanese animation industry faced potential collapse. If one episode could hospitalize hundreds of children, what else could anime do to vulnerable viewers? Parents demanded answers, regulations, and criminal charges. The government even considered banning anime entirely from television. This single episode nearly killed the medium forever. Now let us talk about what happened to Pokémon. The show went into a 4-month hiatus from December to April with no new episodes airing. Every previous episode had to be re-edited. Producers removed or dimmed every flashing light sequence, and they changed opening themes to eliminate strobe effects. Japanese broadcasters added mandatory warnings before every anime broadcast. Viewers were told to watch in bright rooms and from safe distances. Those warnings still appear on Japanese TV today. The production process changed forever after this incident. Studios now follow strict guidelines about flashing imagery. No more than 3 flashes per second is allowed. Red lights cannot flash faster than other colors. Flashing sequences are limited to 2 seconds total. Stripes, whirls, and patterned backgrounds are heavily restricted on screen. Every episode is tested for photosensitive trigger risks before it airs. Here is the part that makes this tragic. The episode's central character was punished for nothing. Porygon was blamed for the entire incident. Even though Pikachu caused the explosion that induced seizures, Porygon has not appeared in the anime since, not in a single episode for over 27 years. Its evolutions, Porygon 2 and Porygon Z, were also banned. Porygon 2 is the only Generation 2 Pokemon never shown. The franchise mascot, Pikachu, could not be blamed, so Porygon became the permanent scapegoat. Before we continue, please hit that like button now and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this. Your support helps us uncover these hidden stories. Now let us discuss something nobody talks about. This episode was not the only anime causing seizures, it was simply the biggest documented incident. Other anime had triggered smaller seizure events before, but nothing on this scale or with this much attention. Here is why Electric Soldier Porygon was so uniquely dangerous. The scene occupied most of the television screen. The explosion was not small or contained at all. It filled viewers' entire field of vision completely, making it impossible to look away or avoid. The frequency was perfectly calibrated to cause maximum harm, 10 Hz exactly, the most dangerous flashing rate. Millions of children watched at the exact same time, 6:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, prime time. Every child in Japan sat close to their TV in darker evening lighting that made the flashes more intense. The perfect storm of factors created mass casualties. Scientists studying the incident discovered something very disturbing. 76% of victims had never had seizures before. This was not just affecting people with known epilepsy. It triggered seizures in completely healthy children, non-epileptic seizures caused purely by the visual stimulus. About 10% of people worldwide will have one seizure at some point, but experiencing one does not necessarily mean you have epilepsy. These children's brains were simply overwhelmed by the stimulus. Their neurons fired uncontrollably from the flashing lights, creating temporary seizure states without underlying epilepsy. The long-term study revealed even more concerning data. Researchers followed 103 patients for 3 years. Only 22% ever had another seizure afterward. This shows most victims did not have epilepsy at all. The episode attacked their brains so aggressively that even healthy children could not resist its effects. Now here's what the industry tried to hide. Electric Soldier Porygon was dubbed into English afterward. 4Kids Entertainment created a complete English version. They edited the flashing scenes to reduce intensity and slowed the frequency to make it safer. But the episode never aired anywhere outside Japan. The stigma was too severe to risk broadcasting it. Even the safe version remains locked away forever. The episode exists in corporate vaults somewhere, but no streaming service will ever show it. No DVD release has ever included it anywhere. It is effectively erased from Pokemon history. You can find bootleg copies online if you search, but watching them carries genuine medical risks. Even knowing what happened, people still trigger seizures watching. The curiosity is not worth the potential brain damage. Let us talk about other banned anime episodes. Electric Soldier Porygon was not alone in causing problems, but it is the only one that hospitalized hundreds. Other episodes were banned for very different reasons. Shujo Tsubaki remains one of the most disturbing anime films ever made. This 1992 film tells an absolutely horrific story. A 12-year-old girl named Midori is orphaned and alone. She joins a traveling circus after her mother dies. This is not a magical circus adventure. It is a nightmare of psychological and physical abuse. The circus members abused and tortured Midori repeatedly. One scene shows graphic violence against puppies. Another depicts further graphic abuse of the child. The ending shows Midori descending into complete insanity. She murders every circus member in brutal fashion. This film was banned in Japan itself. The country that created it refused to show it. Germany, South Korea, and most other nations banned it. Many people actually destroyed the film tapes physically, trying to erase it from existence completely. The director Hiroshi Harada funded it with personal savings. He spent 5 years hand-drawing 5,000 paintings. He worked almost entirely alone on the production. He said the film reflected his childhood bullying trauma, but the result was too disturbing for any audience. The film includes graphic sexual abuse. Violence against animals is portrayed in horrifying detail. Psychological torture leaves viewers genuinely traumatized. Even anime fans who watch everything call it unwatchable. The few who have seen it report nightmares afterward. Feelings of disgust lasted for days. Some wished they could erase it from their memory. This represents the absolute darkest extreme of anime, where artistic expression crosses into genuinely harmful content. But Shoujo Tsubaki at least targeted adult audiences. Electric Soldier Porygon was made for children specifically, and it hurt them physically in documented medical ways. That is what makes the Pokemon incident uniquely terrible. The animators had no malicious intent. They were creating entertainment for kids they cared about. But ignorance combined with technology created a weapon. Now let's discuss how this changed anime forever. After Pokemon Shock, every studio became more cautious. They implemented multiple testing stages for every episode. Computer programs now analyze flashing light frequencies automatically. Human reviewers watch specifically for seizure trigger risks. Medical consultants approve episodes before they air. Insurance companies require extensive safety documentation. This is why modern anime feels different sometimes. Action scenes avoid rapid flashing effects completely. Explosions get animated differently than in older shows. Lightning attacks rarely use strobe effects anymore. Directors know exactly what they cannot show on screen. The creative freedom of early anime died that night. Safety became more important than artistic expression. And honestly, that's probably the right choice. No anime episode is worth hospitalizing children over. But some creators still resent the restrictions. They feel their vision gets compromised by safety regulations. They are forced to tone down dramatic moments for medical reasons. This tension between art and safety continues today. The Pokemon Shock influenced way more than just anime. Video game companies completely changed their approach too. Every video game now includes epilepsy warnings. Flashing effects in games get tested extensively. Some games include accessibility modes to reduce flashing. Movies and television adopted similar safety standards globally. The incident proved visual media could cause real harm. Industries worldwide took notice and implemented protections. Even Western cartoons became more careful about effects. American animation rarely uses rapid strobe effects anymore. The Pokemon Shock created an industry-wide safety culture. Protecting audiences from photosensitive triggers became standard. One anime episode changed global media production forever. Now let's talk about the conspiracy theories. Some people claim the episode was an intentional attack, that Animators deliberately created a seizure weapon, testing it on Japanese children for unknown purposes. This is complete nonsense and dangerous thinking. The animators were horrified by what happened. They had no idea their work would cause harm. The combination of factors was purely accidental. But the conspiracy theories reveal something important. People struggle to accept that accidents can be catastrophic. They want villains to blame for terrible events. Sometimes tragedy happens without malicious intent. The Pokemon shock was a genuine accident caused by ignorance, not malice or conspiracy. That does not make it less terrible, but it does make it a learning experience. The industry learned, adapted, and became safer. Here is what happened to the people involved. The director Kiyotaka Isako never directed Pokemon again. The writer Junki Takagami continued in the industry. Both faced intense scrutiny after the incident. The animation studio OLM changed its entire process. They hired medical consultants permanently on staff. They implemented strict testing protocols for every scene. The Pokemon Company became obsessed with safety. Every decision now considers potential harm to children. They refuse to take risks that might hurt viewers. This cautious approach helped Pokemon become immortal. Parents trust the brand because of safety measures. The franchise survived because it learned from tragedy. Some people want to watch the banned episode driven by morbid curiosity about the infamous scene, but you absolutely should not seek it out. The episode remains genuinely dangerous to watch, even if you do not have a diagnosis of epilepsy. About 3% of people have photosensitive triggers. Many do not know they are susceptible until they are exposed. Watching the episode could give you your first seizure, and seizures can cause permanent brain damage or death in extreme cases from falling injuries. The 4-second scene is not worth that risk. Trust me, there is nothing interesting to see anyway. It is literally just flashing red and blue lights. No artistic value, no important plot points, just a dangerous sequence that hurt hundreds of children. Satisfy your curiosity by learning about it instead. Do not risk your health to see something meaningless. Let's talk about modern anime safety now. Today's anime is genuinely safe for most viewers. The industry learned its lesson from Pokemon Shock. Every episode gets tested by multiple safety systems. Computer algorithms detect dangerous flashing patterns automatically. Human reviewers specifically watch for trigger risks. Medical experts consult on potentially problematic scenes. Warnings appear before any episode with flash effects. Streaming services include photosensitivity warnings in descriptions. Some platforms let you filter out shows with effects. This protection extends to all visual media now. The Pokemon incident created a safety culture across industries. Protecting vulnerable viewers became a universal priority. But photosensitive epilepsy still affects millions of people. They live in constant awareness of potential triggers. Video games, movies, television, even concerts can be dangerous. Strobe lights at concerts still trigger seizures regularly. Emergency medical teams expect seizure victims at events. The Pokemon Shock raised awareness but did not eliminate risk. Here's what you should know about protecting yourself. If you have photosensitive epilepsy, avoid strobe effects. Avoid strong flashing images. Even without a diagnosis of epilepsy, be cautious. Watch television in well-lit rooms. Sit farther away from screens than you think necessary. Take regular breaks during long viewing sessions. If you feel dizzy or strange, stop watching immediately. Close your eyes and look away from screens. These simple precautions prevent most seizure triggers. The Pokemon Shock taught us prevention is critical. Now here is the biggest lesson from this incident. Animation is more powerful than most people realize. It can reach into viewers' brains and affect them physically, not just emotionally or psychologically, but neurologically. This power demands responsibility from creators. Every frame can potentially impact millions of viewers. Studios must balance artistic vision with audience safety. The best anime entertains without causing physical harm. This seems obvious, but it took tragedy to learn. The industry grew complacent about animation's power. They forgot that children's developing brains are vulnerable. Pokemon Shock forced everyone to take safety seriously. Animation became better for it, ultimately. Here's what makes this story ultimately hopeful. Pokemon survived and went on to become the biggest franchise ever. The anime returned stronger with better safety measures. Children could watch safely without fear of harm. The industry adopted protections that saved countless people. Media worldwide became more aware of photosensitive risks. Millions of people with epilepsy gained accommodations they needed. One terrible incident led to positive change. The children who suffered that night were not forgotten. Their experience protected future generations from similar harm. That is the silver lining in this dark story. Now you understand the complete truth about Pokemon Shock. 685 children were hospitalized after 4 seconds of flashing. It was the biggest seizure incident in television history, an accident that changed animation forever worldwide, but it was also a learning experience that saved countless lives. The darkest anime episode taught the brightest lesson. Safety matters more than spectacle in entertainment. Protecting audiences is not censorship, it is responsibility. And that lesson continues protecting viewers today. So here is what you should do with this knowledge. Respect the power of visual media to affect people. Be cautious with flashing effects in your own content. Support accessibility features that protect vulnerable viewers. And understand why some content stays banned forever. Not every story deserves to be told. Some episodes should remain locked away permanently. Protecting people matters more than satisfying curiosity. That is the real lesson of the banned episode. Now, after learning about this catastrophic incident, you might be wondering about other controversial anime moments that nearly destroyed beloved series. There is one episode in particular that severely damaged Demon Slayer's reputation among hardcore fans. The backlash was so severe the studio had to issue public statements. If you want to understand what went so wrong with this iconic series, click the link on screen now to watch the full breakdown. The controversy surrounding this episode will shock you.